was an Apple IIe, which probably was your first, many people here probably had the experience of owning an Apple IIe as the first computer, because Apple IIe had the distinction of being Apple's longest running computer product at 11 years. So can you imagine any computer company producing any product that actually lasts for 11 years? Like when it lasts for 11 years, you don't really need the iSummit, right? But back at that time, that gave you just an idea of how much the world has changed. That was something that you could buy that would be durable for more than a decade. This summit is the result of some hard work behind the scenes, and I don't know if there's going to be an opportunity to thank those people. We're certainly pleased to host it, but there's a tremendous effort that is taken on by the Lighthouse Coalition of Schools Board, who is behind all of this. I've learned more about their work as this event has unfolded, and I think they deserve a round of applause for pulling all of this together. It's a terrific program to be able to And with that, I'm going to welcome Ken Cheeseman, who's the chair of the board of the coalition, to come forward and get us launched. We're delighted to have you here at Westminster. This is a real treat for us, and thank you for being with us. Ken?
Good morning. Good morning. It's like a faculty meeting at my school. I usually take my podium and move it closer to my teacher, but it's not going to work here. I'm Ken Cheeseman. I'm head of school at St. Paul in Nashville and chair of the board of the coalition, sponsoring a group of iSummit. And on behalf of the board, I want to thank you for being here. Look forward to a great conference. I also want to thank Keith Evans and the Westminster team for opening up their beautiful campus to us again. I want to thank Margaret Gunter and her exceptional team for organizing a thoughtful and a mindful conference. Last year when Colleen Laud and Jerry Wells presented the idea for this year's theme, it really rang true to me. I was remembering the early days of our laptop rollouts. I don't know when your school started, but we rolled out laptops in 2000 and did a lot of good things with those and made a lot of changes in how we did things as well. But I remember those early days. I remember phrases like anytime, anywhere learning, ubiquitous education. And while I think most of the hopes and dreams surrounding those ideas have come true, there have been consequences that we didn't necessarily intend. And one of those consequences is anytime, anywhere, that's where our jobs are, right? So as teachers, as educational leaders, I think we often find ourselves accessible in ways that we didn't necessarily envision years ago. And I think there has been a fraying that has gone on, a fraying in our personal lives and our wholeness. And so, again, when Colleen and Jerry came to me, I thought they were on to something really important. And they were thinking about how can we leverage these powerful tools to bring more wholeness to our lives. And so I'm hopeful as you go through the next 2 days that you take away not only some new pedagogical ideas, but you take away some ideas that can help you be a better version of yourself as you pour yourself into your students and into your parents. So with that, thank you again for coming and have a great conference.
All right, so before we get started for the day, we have a couple announcements just to make sure that you're ready and prepared with what you need today. I'm going to have one of my team members, Drew Klossing, walk you through the app and make sure that you've downloaded so that you can benefit from all that it has to offer and how we might use it to communicate with you today.
All right, good morning. So, let me pull this up real quick. So I'm I'm using this really neat app actually. It's called Reflector, and I'm going to pull this over, and it allows me to mirror my phone straight to the laptop. So that's what we're looking at right here. So the app, as you can see down at the bottom right, it's got the iSummit logo. So, but to find it, you can go to the App Store. Just search for iSummit. And when you go to the app, there's 3 things I really just want to call your attention to. The first thing is make sure that you register in the app. There's a couple benefits to registering in the app. It allows you to follow events. And when you follow events, that's going to put you in a list so that your whoever's presenting the session can contact you, or you'll be able to contact the presenter that way. So it's really good to be able to follow those events. And so register in the app. To do that, you tap on the top left corner where there's 3 little register in the top left instead. So you can tap on that and it will take you through the steps. You have to verify with a PIN number that they'll email you. So once you register, then you'll be able to follow events. So to follow events, you can go to the session schedule, and as you swipe through, you can see all the different events that we have, all the different sessions. And when you tap on a session, let's say we want to follow Become Flippin' Awesome. So I'm going to tap on Become Flippin' Awesome. And there's a follow button in the top right. So when I tap the follow button, it will now add this to my session feed. So if I go back, oh, and by the way, you can also see the room number, and you can see a feedback link, and I'll talk about that in a second. But when I go back, at the very bottom, let's see here, right down here at the bottom, it says personal. If I tap on personal, it will show my personal events that I've been following. So this is a really, really good way to keep track of the sessions that you want to attend. All of them will be right here, and then you can just tap on the event from here to see the details. Okay, and that leads me to the next thing that I want to share with you. Feedback for each session that you attend. You can access a survey by tapping the feedback button in the top left of each session. So it looks like a little globe in the top left, and when you tap, it will take you out of the app into a survey, a Google form. Go ahead and complete this. You're going to put the session number and the session leader, and then fill out the survey, and then we'll be able to access that information and be able to just continue to improve iSummit each year. So that's one good way you can help us with that. And the last thing I want to point out is the presenter directory, and this is really important too. And this is something new. We've got a really good app, a strong app, I think, this year. One of the things that we're able to do is give you a presenter directory. So again, when you tap over to the menu, go down to the presenter directory. Every presenter from every session is found in this. And not only that, you can even see which sessions they're presenting. Sometimes you like to follow a particular presenter, so you can do that using this app, using this menu, the directory here. So if I want to look at what Mark's presenting, you can tap on Mark. You've got access information. You can contact him. You've also got a wiki website here. So you can follow. Sometimes your presenter might say, I'm going to put some notes in my wiki. So you would just tap on that presenter and then be able to go to their webpage straight from there. So very, very handy. Now I do want to call attention to our app developer too, which is also our sponsor for this year's iSummit. You can tap on their name right here. It's in Pocket down at the bottom. If you want to learn more about them, it's right there. But they are our sponsors, and they're who helped us build the app. So that's the app. I hope you enjoy it.
One thing that Drew didn't mention, but one of the benefits of completing that session feedback is periodically throughout the day, we'll be randomly selecting people for some gift card drawings, so that's a little bit of extra encouragement to get your session feedback in. Not only does it benefit us, but it benefits you hopefully as well. A couple other things. If you are a tweeter, make sure you're tweeting your pictures, your comments, your feedback to #iSummitConf, which is up here in the bottom right-hand corner. Also, you see a link up here for a YouTube channel. We are very fortunate this year to have Westminster's student broadcast team live streaming some of our sessions. So if there's someone that is not here from your school that you think would really be interested in hearing Carl, send them this link. We are going to be live streaming in just a few minutes on this channel. So make note of this. We will also be streaming certain sessions throughout the next 2 days. We'll be pushing that out through push notifications and also Twitter. So if there's something that you don't get to see, there'll be an opportunity to see some of those sessions will be documented on this page. You are in Royals Art Center right now. This will be the only time that we're in this room. After this, we're going to move to the middle school, where all the sessions will be, is where lunch will be. We have students and faculty who will make sure that you get there. We also have signage around the building. Lunch will be in that room. Lunch today is from 11:20 to 1 o'clock. If you are signed up for one of our lunch activities, we have a meditation class today, as well as exploring the campus as a classroom. You are going to meet in the library at 11:20 to be escorted to those sessions. If you're not signed up for one of those, but want to take advantage of the extended lunchtime, you're welcome to explore the campus, walk around. There's nature trails all around campus. The library will be open for a collaborative, comfortable space to work. This afternoon, we have 2 different bus departure times. One bus will be leaving at 4 o'clock to take people back to the hotel that aren't staying for an afternoon activity or are not staying for the conference social. If you're staying for an afternoon activity and the conference social, there'll be a second bus at 7 o'clock. Tomorrow morning, buses from the hotel will leave at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow morning, there's only going to be 1 bus, not 2 like this morning. If you're signed up for an afternoon activity, which is including things like the indoor climbing wall, swim in the pool, walk around the trails, basketball in the gym, you can also meet in the library this afternoon. If you didn't sign up for one of those things, but you really want to, we still have room. Find me or somebody on my team and we can get you signed up for that. Last, the conference social will be in the same location in a courtyard near where lunch is. So we'll make sure that you have all this information throughout the day, but I also wanted to make sure you had it first thing this morning so that you know where that will be starting at 5:30 tonight. Now, if you follow my emails or follow me on Twitter, you know that if you signed up for iSummit, registered for iSummit prior to May 1st, that you were entered into a drawing for an Apple Watch. So we're going to start today's conference by giving away an Apple Watch, and Drew's going to pull up our handy dandy click and spin. Is it up there? Hold on. All right, so we have not chosen the winner. Hopefully this is all going to work for you right now. All right, so, and you have to be present to win. So I know there were still quite a few people name tags out there. So Drew, go ahead and spin the wheel. Linda Drake, are you in the audience? Jennifer Handy, are you in the room? Come on, Jennifer! Jennifer, where are you from? Montgomery, what school? Trinity, great. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to bring Colleen Glaude to the stage to introduce our fabulous keynote, Carl Hooker.
Thank you, Margaret, and good morning. My name is Colleen Glaude. I am the Dean of Instructional Technology here at the Westminster Schools, and I have the pleasure of introducing to you our keynote speaker for today. Now, hopefully you've had the chance to read about Carl Hooker in the iSummit app. In there, you'll discover that Carl has been part of a strong educational shift with technology integration since becoming an educator. His unique blend of educational background, technical expertise, and humor makes him a driving force in this area of change. He's been a featured speaker at many national events, including iPad Summit, CIO School Summit, and ISTE, just to name a few. Carl's popular presentations include titles such as Top 10 Things Not to Do in a One-to-One, Swimming in the Samar Swimming Pool, and my personal favorite, Surviving the Digital Zombie Apocalypse. As Director of Innovation and Digital Learning at the Eanes Independent School in Texas, Carl's helped spearhead the launch of one-to-one iPads for all students in K-12 in his district, an 8,000 student district. He's also the founder of iPad Palooza, little plug for the Learning Festival that happens in Austin, Texas in June, later in June. And this year's theme for his iPad Palooza is Keep iPads Weird. As Apple Distinguished Educators, Carl and I have had the honor of presenting at a recent Apple Showcase event. In 3 minutes' time, I watched Carl move an audience over 1,000 people, move those folks from tears to laughter to cheers. I can't wait to see what Carl and where Carl will take us in the next hour. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Carl Hooker.
A lot of pressure. It's hard an hour to make you laugh and make you cry. Okay, that's good. That's a good thing. A couple things. She mentioned the hashtag. During this presentation, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a back channel. And so what that means is, those of you, how many of you are on Twitter right now? Just let me see. Okay, good. There's a few guys. Okay, great. So during this presentation, I'll actually be live tweeting out resources to you. I'm not going to be doing this from my pocket. It's actually going to be happening with my slides. So as certain slides come up, you'll have secret information going out to you on Twitter to this hashtag. And also, if you follow me, you can get that information too. So if you want to come back later and say, wow, that was a great little snippet of a video, I'd like to watch the whole thing, those are actually going to be on this hashtag, so you can scan it later. We'll also be doing a couple of questions. It'll be very interactive. I want you to have your screens out. So there'll be time for I'll prompt a question to come up on the screen, and you guys answer on Twitter, and we'll do it old school too. I'll go into the crowd, we'll ask for some answers as well. But please make sure you have your phones out. I definitely encourage that experience. So starting right now, there should have been a tweet that just went out that says, I'm about to live tweet this entire thing. So that's good. Let me see if I get my iPad up and running here. And so, a little bit about me. As you can tell here, I have been a keynote speaker since the age of 10. And very keen fashion sense there. Also, I would say those glasses are making a comeback. But in all seriousness, I also like to, besides keynote speaking, I like to pose with random kids and family photos. No, that's not true. These are my kids. That's Ima, Yura, and Vegas Hooker. No, that is not their names. I'm not that cruel. This is my family. This is last summer. This is 1 minute. 1 minute before we got that minivan there and went on a 3-week road trip. It took us all the way from Austin, Texas, through Atlanta, from Tennessee, all the way through the Southeast. 3 weeks road trip. 1 minute before we get in the car. Notice that we're all still smiling. I couldn't make this up. 5 minutes after we got in the car, this. Ah! When are we going to be there? 3 weeks, be quiet, come on. So yes, I learned a lot during that trip about kids in general, but I also learned a lot about kids because I used to be a first grade teacher. And here I am right here in case you can't see me in that photo. I'm like taller than the kid in the back row who's standing up as high as he can there. I was just kindergarten cop all over again. But it's crazy, I look at this picture and I see the date, 2001. So these kids right now just finished their sophomore year in college. And this was and is the 21st century, right? 2001, 21st century. Has anything changed since then? It's been a wild 15 years since then. And you know, my 5th grade classroom looked a lot like this. You know, we had technology in the classroom and they were engaged, don't get me wrong. I mean, I could stand behind these kids all day, make faces at them, and never know I was there. They were totally into it. And the games we played were ones like Oregon Trail, remember that? That was great, like you could die all these weird ways. Like, amoebic dysentery, or you broke your arm, or a snake bite. And this one, which I really loved, yeah, I remember that because it's like, you could have like, geography and history, and it was in a game, and it was all tied together. And I love that kind of interaction. 1992, I just saw the date on that. Wow, that ages me, but I love these games. And it's interesting because I look back at that technology then, and I think, what would the future predict? And I really didn't know where we were headed with mobile devices. And I went back in time and found that in 1899, there were actually some French artists commissioned to draw what they thought the future would look like, just in general. One particular artist decided to draw what he thought what school would look like in the year 2000, and this is what he thought. It looked like this. So a couple of things I'll point out here. One is, I really love the class size in the year 2000. It's 7 to 1. But also you look at, you got the professor kind of turning the books in, and the kids are just kind of consuming the information. Kind of interesting. Also, I guess if you're a female in the year 2000, you're in trouble, because this is an all-boys classroom here. But you can take the same approach with technology and say, okay, we're going to use it just to consume content. And I'll be honest, when we first handed out the iPads, there was a lot of that same feeling. A lot of our teachers asked in 2011, they said the first thing they asked, every teacher asked, is my textbook on that device? And I said, yes, it is, but there's also other things you can do with it. And I said, if you're just going to use devices for just consuming content, then you're really wasting a lot of the resources that are within them. So these are great creation devices. You guys know that. There's lots of sessions I saw in the next couple of days that go over this, like how to actually create and do amazing things with these devices. So I encourage you to do that. Another thing, and I think Colleen mentioned it, is when you're dealing with devices on a regular basis, and I saw already some of this today, I almost wanted to take a picture of some of y'all that are sitting on that back row back there out in the lobby. It was so cool because they're all sitting there, and then they had like 3 devices out like this. And I had a lot of parents that come up to me and say, this is terrible, it's the end of the world, it's like surviving the digital zombie apocalypse. And I feel like if I'm in Atlanta where they filmed The Walking Dead, one of my favorite shows, I have to bring a zombie picture with me, so here we go. And when I talk to teachers and parents about this, they say, well, yeah, there's all these terrible things that are happening with technology, how do we balance it? And I said, well, there's some bad stuff, don't get me wrong. I mean, let's look at some of the signs here, okay? I'm at a football game with my wife, University of Texas, 100,000 seat stadium, beautiful day, and she decides that, what is she looking at there? She's on her phone on Pinterest. Just looking at Pinterest like, honey, there's a football game about to take place. The one day in Austin, it's 72 degrees and sunny. And then I'm at a Starbucks later, and I see this guy with his daughter having a bonding moment. And this is embarrassing because I actually snapped a picture kind of like without them looking, and he turned right when I took the picture. Oops, there was my slides. Let me get back. And then there's this one here where you have like, you could watch Orange is the New Black while you're driving to work, which is good. And then as you start looking at people, you realize they almost start to look a little bit like digital zombies. In fact, you can even hear them moaning right here, like, no 3G coverage, as they're walking down the street. And then you have this, and it's a commercial, it's not real, but kind of close to real. I see signs like this in Arizona, if you need good cell coverage, you gotta pull over here. And then I think the ultimate sign, and this is one that I almost succumb to as a parent, is this, the iPotty. And we found one used on Craigslist, and I'm not gonna go there. So I'm trying to potty train my 3-year-old, and I was like, she loves this. I was like, this would be the way to do it, but I did not do it. But then again, signs of the apocalypse. But that's okay. There are other things that I noticed too, that as we become more kind of in tune with technology, but also more used to using it in social circles, there's this thing that happens, and you guys will notice after the day, after I mention this, you'll see this happening everywhere. It's when you're in a group of people, this happens a lot in elevators too, strangely enough. When you're within a group of people and someone pulls out their phone, and then someone else sees someone else pull out their phone, what do? They pull out their phone. And then another, and then another, and then another. It's almost like, like when you yawn and other people start to yawn. I call this digital yawn. And it happens quite a bit. You'll see it a lot. Okay, well, he said it was okay to pull out his phone, so I'm going to pull out mine. And he said, you're checking something you need to check. So I feel like as adults, we need to model the right way to do this, but also we need to work with our kids on this too. This, by the way, oops, let me go back to that picture. This is just the other, keeps switching off there. I guess I had it fading too fast. Real quickly, if you look at that picture there. It's like when I was having a dinner conversation with these folks, and as I'm talking to them, I look up and they're all kind of nodding, but not a single one of them, they're all looking like this one, yes? It's like when you're at a party, and you've ever been at a party where you're like talking to somebody here, but then over here you hear like a better conversation. Like, oh yeah, so you're listening to them, you're not really, you're kind of listening over here. The same thing kind of happens with your phone in that sense, and it leads to this actual word, which is well, if you believe in Urban Dictionary, that this is an actual word, it's called notionalization. It's where people actually go out in public, and instead of socializing together, they actually get on their phones instead. So it's an interesting trend, and I see it not just with kids, I see it with adults too. So I hear this a lot too from parents, from teachers, like whatever happened to the good old days? You know, everything was so much better before we did all this with technology, right? You guys are at a conference called iSummit, so I know you're believers in it, you're working on integrating it in your classrooms. But I always think it's good to use these kind of points when you're talking with people that are really reticent about integrating technology in the classroom. And here's one right here. So this is from a newspaper. This is from the Smithsonian magazine, the Nature magazine in 1889. And if you look at this quote, I'll pull it out for you. It really talks about how telephones are a menace to society. This is right when the telephone was invented, when it came out and was going everywhere. And it talks about it's just going to take away from your life. It's just a convenience. You don't need it. It's terrible. 1889. Now let's back up a little bit further. There's this quote. If men learn this, it'll implant forgetfulness in their souls. They will cease to exercise memory because they rely on that which is written. This was 370 BC, Socrates. He was totally against the written word. And the reason we know this is because Plato wrote it down. So interesting. But so his whole concept was, and if I go back and look at some of Plato's writings about what Socrates would say, he had this fear that kids would walk around with these little notebooks and their pencils and their noses in it as they walked around, kind of similar to what we just saw with the digital zombies, right? Interesting. And he also had this fear that if they wrote it down, they wouldn't memorize it, because then they could just outsource that memory. Kind of like we're seeing now with Google, where you can just find the facts. Why do we need to memorize all those facts? Let's apply them instead. So change has always happened, and I like to bring this up to parents to say it's always changing, and it will always change. We know that. So kind of embrace the change. I'll bring this photo up one more time, just to point out that these are the years that these girls are actually going to graduate high school. That's Sophia, that's her real name, 2027. Lauren, 2029. And little Caroline there is 2031. 2031 is the day that she's going to walk out of the doors of Westlake High School in Austin. And I start thinking, what is she going to see? What do y'all think? I'll just ask the crowd this. What do you think it's going to look like in 2031? There'll be what? The Jetsons. There's always somebody who says flying skateboards. I'm like, I know, why do we love the flying skateboards? Or the Jetsons, flying cars. Do we think it'll be the same? No, right? It's going to be different. So I'm talking to high school teachers even at my own school. I said, these kids are coming to you, and it's not just my kids, but there's a whole generation. If you guys have kids or have borrowed a kid below the age of 6, or grandkids, you've seen them with devices, right? They're so fast with them, they pick them up innately. In fact, I would say there's almost a generation gap between like even juniors and seniors now and the 5 and 6 year olds in terms of like what are they actually picking up in technology. They're so much faster with it. And so I hear this phrase a lot, what's a 21st century learner? And people immediately think it's about the technology. I would argue that it's not necessarily about the device, but it's about who's holding the device and how they're actually using it. And in the best classrooms in my district, when I walk through and see iPads integrated well, it's because the device is almost invisible, if that makes sense. Like in this picture you see, it's kind of there, but it's kind of not. So the teacher's doing a lesson, it's a learning objective, they're talking about it, they have their devices out and they're using them, but it's not all right class, today we're going to do a lesson on Keynote. Take out your iPad and do a Keynote lesson. No, instead we're learning about space today, and what I want you to do is present your learning on space in any format you wish, but you have to show your learning in that format. So it doesn't matter what you use. You could use this, you could use paper, pencil, it doesn't matter. It's not about the device, it's about the learning objective, and I think that's always going to be our focus. So here's a question for you, and this will go out on Twitter right now too. And that is, what skills do you think students will need to be successful in the future workplace? And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually run into the crowd because you guys are way too far away from me. Hopefully I won't kill the mic when I do this. So you can answer this on Twitter, and then those of you that are in the room that aren't on Twitter, or even if you are, give me some ideas. What are some skills that you think our kids will need in the future workplace? And I'm not talking about like Microsoft Office 2010. I'm talking just general skills here. What are some things? What do y'all think? Any ideas? Social skills. What else?
Critical thinking skills.
Critical thinking skills. Very good. What else?
Coding.
Coding. I like it. We're teaching that as a foreign language now in our school, so it's like starts from kindergarten. Persistence. Someone said over here. Ooh, good one. What else?
Problem solving.
Agility. Ooh, that's a good one. Problem solving. That's good.
Resilience.
Camera guys, you guys following me? Sorry, I realize I'm running around. Look at these guys out here, they're great. What did you say? It was collaboration. Very true. Have you guys seen my slide before? Because you're almost pointing out every word that I'm about to show you on the screen. That's great.
Flexibility.
Flexibility, I like it. What about like failure? I feel like that's the one word in schools that we just struggle with. And I see it in this generation of kids now where it's almost like we don't allow them to fail. We kind of catch them and don't let them, what is that word? It's like resiliency, right? That's another one that we really need to work on, resiliency. And you said agility, which I love. That's kind of more of a positive way of spinning that. So this here is from a friend of mine, Tracy Clark, great, amazing educator. She's a startup mama because she launched both her app and her child the same year. Don't tell me. No, she saw that on video. She's like, she didn't launch her child, but she had a baby the same year she started an app. And what I love about Tracy is that she did a lot of research on what Fortune 500 companies really wanted in future employees. And over again, these are the words that came up over and over again in terms of skills. Now you don't see up there able to do really well on a math test, or able to really manipulate an iPad, or really be able to do Microsoft Office. It's all about these skills. And if you look, a lot of the ones you guys just mentioned, in fact, most of them you guys already mentioned. And you probably recognize these. They're called the 4 C's: collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity. But I like to focus on other parts of this. So here's one I'm going to focus on right now. I'm going to look at these 3 skills, and I'm going to show you an example of a video. Some of you may have seen this. This is from a Minnesota track meet in 2008 of a young lady who I felt really showed resiliency, perseverance, and was very adaptable to change. So let me pull this up here. We'll see if we got our audio working.
The 600-meter underway. Hooker Keynote in Minnesota finished second this time. And you were shooting 1-4.
And Dornan is probably going to be your favorite. She actually won the NCAA championship in 2006 in that.
So it's kind of hard to hear, but they just mentioned, like, Dornigan, who's up front, is the favorite. This is a 600-meter race. You guys have 3 laps. Let's see what happens when she gets right up to the final lap.
From her this weekend, and she just coming back hard there now. The next going to try to get it
Whoa, London falling down, gets up quickly, but that's going to cost her. Lucky she wasn't injured.
Her teammate just went to the front though, so
They may be able to recover from that.
and Dornan is flying down the back.
She is catching up.
She is going to catch Von Dorn, and she may catch the leader.
Wow.
But she's got fun.
This is a gutsy effort from Dornan. She's moving in third. Dornan coming down the strong from the outside. Dornan coming out strong.
That is amazing. To fall in a 600, I mean, this is basically a sprint. I mean, this is an extended 400.
I mean, think about that. Think about in her heart of hearts, there's so much resilience in it. She had to be very adaptable to change, right? She had an obstacle fell in front of her, and she could either have gotten up and quit, or she realized all of a sudden, I'm not doing this like a nice little pace of a race. I need to sprint now if I want to win this thing. So there's definitely some internal drive and motivation in her. But I don't think that's unique to just her. I think all of our students have that. And maybe for her it was a race, but for other kids it's other things, right? We need to kind of find those things. And here's another example I'll share with you. This is one of my favorites, but also makes me very scared because this slope really put all the things. This is I think she's 12, and she's about to go down this ski slope for pretty much the first time. She's done some practice on smaller runs. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I'll show you just a little bit about it, and let's see kind of the same skills where they pop out.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Is it any steeper, do you think? Not much.
Same steepness, it's just longer.
Well, just longer. Just a bigger 20, that's all.
Yep.
It's a bigger 20. I got it. Okay. Here. Good.
Okay, so what? Some of you are really getting nervous. I get nervous when I watch this. What do you think is going to happen? So here's the first thing I noticed when I paused this video. I noticed there's some tracks that kind of go like off to the. that would be mine. And I love the coach. He's like, yeah, you just go straight, and you just go straight. Okay. So obviously I wouldn't paint you guys and they could just crash. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's the only thing. It's so fun. Huh? 60 seems like nothing now.
60 seems like she's ready to go to the bigger hill, right? I kind of feel like with our kids we do a little bit of this too. It's like we're going to try to set this bar, and once they accomplish it, they just want to keep going, right? They want to keep building on top of that. I really feel like she showed a lot of things in there. She had some self-motivation. She's definitely a learner. She was listening. The coach was next to her, kind of encouraging her. Said, "Yeah, have fun. Good luck. Go straight that way, and then you'll figure it out." And so she's definitely coachable. And I love the positive attitude, kind of like that. The idea that I can continue to accomplish and continue to grow with this. So she was happy, satisfied, and thrilled, but she wanted to continue to grow and succeed off of that. So that was kind of cool. So when I think of 21st century learners, like there's those skills, but I really kind of group them in these categories. I think they're creative problem solvers, they're mobile content creators, they're motivated collaborators, and they're definitely global communicators. And so we'll start there. And not a good example of global communication, having two cans with a string there. I'd be working my photos, but you get the idea. So this is one of the first times I was actually on Twitter a few years ago, and this image popped up on my timeline. This is New York City in October 2012. And there was a storm. They remember the storm that happened in New York City back then? It was a hurricane. It was Hurricane Sandy. That's what it was. Hurricane Sandy, it was like a winter storm mixed with a hurricane. It was crazy. So there are 70 people standing in front of the Starbucks that is closed. Why? Wi-Fi. And it wasn't so much to tweet about what kind of bagel they had for breakfast. No, it was about they needed to connect with their family because they had been out. In fact, one of my friends, I think it was 2 weeks, he was without power up there. And so they'd run to these places and find ways to connect. The cool thing about this photo that you can't see is over here on the right, there's actually a generator set up, and they had all these plugs. These little phone plugs were all in, because people were using it just to get enough power to say, I'm okay, I'm going to check back in tomorrow, I just want to let you know. It's amazing how much we've become connected. This is actually my first real big moment as a child, was when my parents learned how to text. I'd say a child, I was 37 when they figured this out, but a grown child is what they call me still. This is actually the first text they ever sent me. And they were just figuring out how to text. I used to have a 1,500 text limit on my plan every month, and because they can text now, I had to make it unlimited. They're worse than teenagers. These guys, they're like, and they like to text this one letter all the time. K. You guys get that? K. What is that? Potassium? No, K. Come on. And they sent me text, like when they first got this, they were just figuring out how to text. So I got text like this one, which, thanks Dad, that doesn't really do me any good until I get home and see that my phone is there. And then this one's my mom, which is, what does IDKLYTTYL mean? I don't know. Love you. Talk to you later. Okay, I'll go ask your sister. And I'll be honest, if you Google search parent text messages, you'll find some of these. Those last two were not my parents. I'll let them off in case they watch this video later. But again, the communication started thinking, even in my own life, I started thinking, wow, this is really expanding to, it's not just about the kids, it's every generation is really influenced by this. And there's a lot of feeling, I'll get this a lot of times with parents, I think these devices are really dangerous. I thought these devices are dangerous. Like, what are they going to do? An iPad's not going to hurt you unless someone hits you over the head with it, right? But there is cases where this is dangerous, and I'll give you this example right here.
Well, there's video that's become an instant hit on YouTube, almost 2 million hits as of now. A woman is at the mall texting someone, doesn't notice the giant fountain right in front of her, topples right in. Fortunately, she wasn't hurt, at least not physically. But now she's speaking out, and guess what? She's not very happy.
Humiliation. The humiliation. You know, I asked my husband, I cried for days. You don't know how many people are laughing at it. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. It could have been somebody, I could have been walking into a bus. Anything. Texting and walking, take it from me. It's dangerous. It's you know, you're talking on the phone and walking. It's dangerous.
You can laugh, and it's okay, because the crazy thing about this lady is that she sued the mall for releasing that video. And if you look at the video, can you tell who that is? No, but you know what? The next day she did that thing on the news where she got up and said, that was me. Oh. So then she's like, I have no idea who that is. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Well, this happened in Philadelphia, and so Philadelphia thought, well, let's be proactive. And so what the city hall did that year on April 1st, is they actually instituted these texting and walking lanes. It's true. You go to Philadelphia in front of City Hall, there are these texting and walking lanes where you can walk down the street and make sure you're not running into people as you're texting and walking. And it was a joke, of course, but people loved it. Now I think Washington, D.C. just did it recently, where they have texting and walking lane street. Kind of crazy, what's happening there? Well, not to be outdone, the city of New York said, let's take it to the next level. And so they instituted these things called Seeing Eye People. So, little disclaimer here, that's not real. Actually, it is real, it really happened, but Improv Everywhere, which is a great YouTube channel to follow. Guys that like to they'll get 300 volunteers, let's do improv in the streets. Now, I honestly want to do this at iPadpalooza this summer. I'm thinking about hiring some kids and just giving them orange vests and saying, walk around and people walk with their iPad. So the full video of that I just tweeted out to you if you want to watch it. It's about 5 minutes long. But again, I think it's funny. It's kind of an interesting reflection on our own society that we're really that connected that we need that kind of help sometimes. So I think about the evolution of communication and what has happened in our own schools. And we think about since the beginning of time, the first way we communicated before we could even talk was body language, right? We expressed ourselves in body language. And then all of these other forms of communication have come about. Now these last few that I'm highlighting, those have really come about just in the last 10 to 20 years. In fact, these last few over here, really in the last 10 years. Tweeting, blogging, commenting. Now there's things like vining and kicking. Well, not that kind of kicking, but that's what my 2-year-old does. But there's all these different ways of communicating. And you think about letters right there. And when I was in school, and still in school, we teach kids how to write like a proper letter, right? Business letter, you put the address here, sincerely down here, to whom it may concern. We're teaching them those skills, but are we teaching them these here? How to actually email correctly. I had a class of 3rd grade kids the other day. I had to do an intervention, pull them all aside and say, guys, email is not chat. It's not texting. Because they were sending LOLs and happy faces to each other. I said, this is how you write an email. So starting at an early age, saying, these are what you use email for, this is what you use text for, this is what you use Twitter for, kind of teaching them those lines of communication. Now, the one I'm really concerned about with kids sometimes that I like to reflect on with kids and adults is that first word, body language. You're having a conversation with teenagers, generally what happens is you're talking to them and they're kind of watching, like I said, with the friends I showed you earlier, and they're also looking down here. Oh, my wife sent me a text, just miss you bunches. And as they're talking to you, they're not really paying attention to the body language of the conversation. So like one time I remember I pulled like a $20 bill up and I was like, hey, it'd be great if you guys give you what I have here. And like, okay, yeah. And then one kid looked up and said, oh, it's money. And he's like, oh, this is Monopoly money. Then he said, what's Monopoly? It's that thing you play at McDonald's, just move along. Okay. But then I got this picture, which is titled 21st Century Tan Lines. And I started and it took me a while to figure it out. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's, I've heard about the Longhorns upside down or something. No. It's kind of funny. You see the kids these days and you're like, well, is it, what are they doing? How are they picking up on body language? And I think we as parents and we as teachers and leaders, we need to model this as well. So here's what we're going to have you do. This is non-tech. What I want you to do is you're going to stand up and I want you to find a partner or a group next to you. Yes, you're going to stand. You've been sitting for about 22 minutes, so it's time for you to stand up and stretch. Good time to get the brain waking up. And it says no talking, but honestly, say hello to the person next to you, your partner for this challenge. You're going to say, shake their hand, give them a fist bump or a high five or an awkward sideways hug. And then when you're ready, I'll tell you what you're going to do. Okay. So here's the challenge. Now, this is going to play like charades, but you don't have to guess. I'm not going to make you do that. Really, all I want you to do is with your body, with your emotion, I want you to make whatever word I'm going to put on the screen. I want you to look to your partner and reenact the word. Okay? What was that? You're already worried about it. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be like make a yoga pretzel. No. It's not going to be anything like that. So again, first reaction, no talking, and I almost forgot. No touching either. Okay? I have to point that out just in case. All right, here we go. The first word, first reaction, ready, set, turn to your partner and show me fear. Oh, good. Very good. You almost fell down here. You're like, whoa, there's a lot of this, right? Yeah. Now, I'm curious to see how much different that is from this next one. Surprise. She did the same thing back there. I saw it. But I guess you could have like, that's a knife. I'm shocked. It's fear and surprise mixed together. All right, now a little bit different. So let's see this one. Zombie. I just have to put that one in there. Oh, that was just a fun one. Good zombies, by the way. All right, so we have some future cast members of The Walking Dead in the audience. All right, now this one will be interesting to see because we've had some laughter, but now let's go to sadness. Wow. So, now a little laughter. There it is. Okay. So it's interesting because the first few, no talking, right? But the room almost picked up. But on that last one, the room got quiet. And then from my point of view, it was really interesting. I saw everyone's heads kind of do the same thing. They all went, good, right? Okay. Now here's the next one. Remember, no touching. Anger. Whoa, that was close. This is going to be a battle right here. Y'all two, like, I want to see this. Yeah, they're about to go at it. And then back there, I see some very good teacher faces, by the way, in the crowd. There's a lot of like yeah. And then over there's like anger and fear happening at the same time. Like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. All right. And now the last one, lust. No. Oh, you can sit down now. Thank you, partner. I had to put the no slide up because the second time I ever did this, there was a couple of young ladies sitting in the front row and they started actually enacting it out. And I was like, no. And the guy right behind us was like, why are you making him stop? Not that kind of show, folks. Okay? All right. So I did that on purpose to get you up and moving, but it's also important to know that kids in general, their brains can only work for so long before you change tasks. Adults are the same way. I mean, I think the average adult is 18 to 20 minutes where we have to get up, change the task, stretch, get some oxygen to the brain. So in about 20 more minutes, when we get close to the end, I'll be doing one more activity with you to get your brain kind of moving. With kids, I think it's their age, is what the research shows. So like my 6-year-old, it's about 6 minutes before I have to change a task and get her to kind of stretch, do something a little bit different. So that's something to consider. Now, the other part of global communication is really this. Now, I'm curious, by show of hands, how many of you in the room, raise your hand if you have one of the tools up here on the screen. Okay, keep your hand up, raise your other hand if you have another tool. And raise your leg if you have, no. Actually, let's do this. Show me on fingers, how many accounts you have of these up here? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 hands up here, 6, 7. Is anyone showing? Okay, and then a fist if you have 0. I'm just curious, is any fists? 2? Okay. So 7, 8, wow, that's a lot. So I'm guessing like Facebook, Twitter, probably YouTube, maybe Instagram, LinkedIn. Does anyone know what this thing is right here? MySpace. Remember MySpace? It's still here. You just aren't using it anymore. Yeah, MySpace, Flickr, Pinterest. Some of these I probably have accounts for, and I don't even know I still have accounts for them because there's just so much social media. But the important thing to know is that you can leverage all of this. Of course, you can be overwhelmed by choice too. But I love this David Weinberg quote, which really speaks to the heart of social media, which is the smartest person in the room is the room. So leveraging all of our collective knowledge. We just did it with that Twitter question I asked you guys a minute ago. I asked you guys the question out loud in the crowd, and some of you responded on Twitter. Somebody that's following the conference online also responded on Twitter. So I would say it kind of expands past the room, and I like to change the quote. This is my own version of it, which is the smartest person in the world is the world. And that's by me. But because it's really expanded, we've got all of this connectedness now, and it's just about how we choose to use those connections. And kids, it's very much the same way, right? So here's an example I like to share of global connectedness, and this is a project that we've done for, I think, since 2004. It's the Westlake Virtual Vietnam Project. And so what students do every year, and as part of this project, is they pick a name off of the wall at Arlington National Cemetery. They choose one name, and their job is to reach one person. And this is hard because a lot of them, they don't know how to use the phone really anymore, but they have to write letters and call people and find family, get photos, and get videos. But it's a powerful project too because it gets them connected to these families. And I'll just show you an example of one. This is Ronnie Hamilton's video. And I'll show you a snippet of the video. So their final project is they actually have to produce a video that just kind of shows this person's life. And it's interesting, since 2004 we've been doing this, and you'll see the videos as you go to the wall, and I tweeted out the wall just a second ago. You'll see some videos are from 2004 with like flip cameras, and now we're having, this next one is a kind of a fancier one, but they've all kind of evolved as the years have grown. Here's a little snippet of it. show you kind of, I'll fast forward a little. This is about a 7-minute video, but I'll show you just a little bit of the ending. We actually found video footage of them in the field. There he is right there. And what's amazing about this is it makes me tear up when I watch it. Is the connectedness with these kids. All of a sudden they get to experience this for the first time, and the families that connect with these kids right back to, I've never seen, we haven't talked about Ronnie since he died. It's been, years since we've had him. So it re-experiences, it gives them a certain sense of, they kind of reestablished the same emotions they had way back then. But they love that connectedness. And for our own kids who spend a lot of time kind of in the Westlake bubble, or maybe they travel to, parts of Europe and great things like that, they don't ever get to experience this kind of worldliness that's happened way before them. This is well before their time, this Vietnam project. So I love what this project does. It integrates technology in a great way, but it shows kids there's ways to connect too. And so tracking down these families is not easy either. I mean, some of the parents are long gone, so it's finding siblings and finding friends. And it's a semester-long project, but it's always amazing and powerful to see these final videos. And I go through at the end of the year every year and watch several of them, and always with tissue all the time. But that's our Virtual Vietnam project. Again, showing that kind of global connectedness and what we can do with the power of that. So this next part is about creative problem solving. And I think, and a lot of you mentioned this before, I think we were talking about what are the skills we need. Creativity, problem solving, those are definitely things we need in our workplace. But here's just a few kind of examples of what problem solving is. Is that problem solving? This is kind of the reality of school. I don't consider this creative problem solving in a lot of ways, but I know it's a reality of what we have to do a lot of times. Now, for some of you in this room, maybe that's not the case. I mean, there's a great movement right now, especially within charters and private schools, to really keep the standardized testing down to a minimum and make it more about portfolio work. And we're trying to do the same thing in public ed. But I don't really consider this, creative problem solving. And I have a few examples of this, what I call the kind of the game of school. And before I show you that, I want to share. Are any of you guys familiar with Lord of the Rings? You guys know Sir Ian McKellen? This is interesting. I found this video just the other day on Twitter, and it was him addressing some school kids in New Zealand, which is supposed to be a very progressive country. And he's addressing them about their testing, their exams. This is what he says.
In your preparation for your examinations, if you don't do your revision properly, do you know what will happen? You shall not pass!
I'm not exactly sure what room he's in there. It looks like he's in a hospital room, he's hiding behind a window, but anyway. It's funny that's a global thing, right? The examination, that's our focus. But really the learning happens kind of either in spite of, in my school, when I walk through the building and see testing day, I always joke that that's the day that no learning happens. Kids are locked down, they put away everything, butcher paper on the walls. So how do we integrate that creative problem solving during the school day and still work through the testing environment? I think that's a challenge that we're all kind of playing with right now. And I call it the game of school for a reason. Because I really feel like some kids have mastered this. When we handed out the iPads, some of the seniors came to me and said, why did you do that? Why did you change the game? And I said, what do you mean? It's like, we know how to do the paper and pencil test, we know how to do the textbooks. We even know how to pick the teacher, when we talk to each other, pick the teacher who posts their test the week before the test. And so those are the classes we're taking. So we can ace the test and get the top 10%. And I tell them, well, what are you learning? Like, well, they're even like, oh, learning. What is that about? Like, it's just about getting that high grade and that high score. And so we've turned this into a weird kind of game. And I have a great example of my own childhood. It happened when I was a 6th grader. And I was asked to do one of these homework assignments where you go home and you write a recipe, you cook a product, and then you come in the next day and you hand in the recipe card. Well, I had this wonderful piece of technology in my house. Does anyone have one of these when they were younger? Does anyone still have one that works? I mean, maybe. So this thing weighed, what, 25, 38 pounds, something like that. But we loved it, so we can make all these videos. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be creative. I'm going to make a cooking show. And I knew we had one VCR and TV in the school. I said, well, wheel that thing out of the library and we'll play this. This will be my final project. And so sure enough, I did. And so, of course, I captured it. And here's just a few seconds of me as a 12-year-old doing a cooking show.
Chef, and I'm going to teach you how to make my
famous cookies.
Fashion sense, still terrible.
Preheat the oven to 350 degrees.
And this microwave was like from the 1960s, so when I turned it on, watch the lights again right here, bro. Like in the house, the whole light's in. And then this recipe was like just chocolate and eggs and sugar, and then I mix it all together and throw it on this pan, and then when I threw it in the oven, I forgot to wear government on my other hand, right there. I actually burned my hand, and I still have the scar 30 years later on my hand here, which is crazy. So, oh wait.
Yeah, let's say you're cool for about 5 minutes.
And this, I was living in Michigan at the time, so I really laid on the Texas accent thing for my friend. So I reel this thing out, they play the video, the kids cheer, it's great, happy, and then I get my grade. What do you think I got? Yeah. And the reason was because I didn't do, and I asked her too, like, what did I do wrong? She said, you didn't follow directions. And I said, what was the directions? She said, you're supposed to write number 1, recipe card, number 2, this, number 3, this, number 4, this. I was like, yeah, but, and I actually handed out a recipe card, but all I did is I put the ingredients on it. And had I gone back and thought about it, I should have flipped it over and written the steps as well. So I didn't technically follow the directions. And I started thinking, at that age of 12, I started thinking, what's more important? Now, following directions is important. But is it about following directions or is it about showing your learning? Like, what's the most important outcome here? And I think in school sometimes we wrestle with that. There are times when we need to learn to follow directions, and we need to teach kids that too, but not in sacrifice of the actual learning. That recipe, I tried it over and over, as you can tell. I tried it over and over again, made the mistakes, but and I learned so much from that process. And I have an example of modern times where this actually was done the right way. And this is in our, this is a 9th grader in a Latin class, and he was asked to do a PowerPoint on the Roman bathhouse. And he's going to come up and just have bullet points and speak in Latin about different parts of the bathhouse. And he asked his teacher, can I do something different? And this is what he did.
So, podcast now, Pike est aria down.
So he built the entire Roman bathhouse in, what is this? Minecraft. And if you're between the ages of 3 and 105, you probably played this. But he built it all in Minecraft. And I asked him later, I said, well, how long did this take you, how long did it take you to make it? He said, oh, about 20 hours. Built it to scale, and he actually goes through it. And in Latin, he's reading the different parts. Can I turn it down? He's reading the actual parts of this bathhouse.
Hoc est tepidarium.
And so he's driving through this land. And it's interesting now because he just finished his junior year. And so I saw him about a month ago, and I said, hey, how did remember that Roman bathhouse project? I still show it to people. He goes, yeah, I still remember every bit of that. I said, what do you mean? He's like, I memorized the stuff. I know it by my soul because I created this thing. And I thought it was interesting. If he had just done the PowerPoint, got up the next day and done the PowerPoint, he probably would not remember a word of what he just did. But the fact that he created this world, and the teacher was so excited, she brought it to me, like, look what the student did. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, we block Minecraft in the district. How did you do that? We've opened it up since we do Minecraft EDU now, but still powerful to think. And so he did get an A, and it was all about learning and showing his own learning. And when it comes to creative problem solving, our students also have new things in front of them that we never had. So here's this next example of a student named Michael Bartmus. That's not him in the picture, but if you look at what's happening on that iPad there, Michael was taking, he's a sophomore at Westlake High School. He was taking American Sign Language, and he could not find an app to teach him ASL fingerspelling. And he looked in the App Store, couldn't find it, and all our kids have iPads. So he's also taking iOS coding in another class. And so what does he do? He just made his own app, and he put it in the App Store. 99 cents, 3,000 plus people have downloaded it since. And so he's helping his friends, he's making a little bit of money, but he also, it was really cool the way he did the process is he gave them the first version, and then the kids came together and said, this is what you need to change. It's too slow here. And another clever thing about Michael, which I think was kind of funny, is that he had modeling tryouts to have young ladies come through with their hands, but still, he's like, oh, you're next. No, next one, please. Oh, yeah. 5,000 different words spelled out in front of a green screen. And you just type in the word, and then sure enough, it comes in fingerspell. So again, creative problem solving. These are tools that if we hadn't given them the devices, they probably never thought about doing that. So it's amazing what happens when you actually place this in the palm, in the hands of kids. And so I'll kind of move on to this question. That is, what was the last thing that you created? Think back to maybe a few minutes ago, or earlier this morning, or this year, or something that you created. And I'll go out in the crowd. You can answer this on Twitter. And I'm just curious, what's something you created? It doesn't have to be a major, giant project. It could have been a cup of coffee you had this morning. That was the last thing I created. Was I made a cup of coffee in my hotel room. Yeah, what's some good stuff that you created recently? Anybody? Nobody's done anything. Yes, they.
I create little videos when we do our online lesson planner, and I
it's so much easier than doing like the step sets now. Like it takes just a few minutes, right? Make a quick little video, boom, send it out. I love it. Make some little videos. Yeah, over there.
I use Google Forms to create a log for tracking my junior high cross country teams.
Okay, y'all are stepping it up. I was just saying like simple stuff. You're doing like videos and Google Forms, yeah.
Created graduation cards for finance.
Graduation cards, very nice. It's a creative crowd, yeah.
I edited a wedding tape.
You edited a wedding tape. Nice. And you're the videographer, so you guys are good. You got all the footage right there. That's great. What else? Where are you at?
I created a book, a science book for kids in Haiti just yesterday.
A science book for kids in Haiti.
Just
Yesterday. You just.
No, it's not.
But yesterday you finished it.
No, it was very simple.
Okay.
But it was.
That's amazing. All right, this is a powerful group. This is the GT group here. Let me spin the question a little bit differently. How many of you have ever used YouTube to help you create or learn something? Is that correct? Whoa. Yeah, look, every hand. Now, think about that and give me an example of when you use YouTube to help you learn or create. Yeah?
I created videos to apply the Shakira movement for education in Africa. My students taught, so each class had to create their own dance and video.
So use it with the Shakira movement, which is a lot of no, not that kind of movement, but yeah, you got that on tape. Great. All right. Rewind that. Yes, back there.
I had my kids learn to screencast, and then so they created a lesson, and they screencasted the lesson, and we uploaded it to their YouTube channel.
So y'all aren't just using YouTube to help you learn. You are the ones putting the content in YouTube to help other people learn. I love it. What else? Yeah.
I made a YouTube video to show parents how to help their kids with homework, because the way we teach math is so different from how the parents were taught.
Okay, you need to tweet that out. Seriously.
I put it on YouTube how we're teaching it at school, so before the kids come home,
That's
parents have
genius.
practiced it. That way they don't get frustrated with me.
So when my 6-year-old becomes a middle school kid, I'm going to eat all those videos because I've forgotten all that knowledge, right? So that's great practice for parents. Anyone else? Anyone use YouTube to just help them fix something in the house? Yeah.
The lawnmower, the plumbing, and the car in the last 6 weeks.
Wow. In the last 6 weeks. You have a lot of things breaking in your house. Right. And you probably save yourself a couple $100, $300. I mean, almost $1,000 just doing that. I used it to fix the washing machine the other day. I mean, we didn't actually put YouTube on the washing machine and say fix it. But yeah, you can find a little. It's funny. People are just like, well, here's how I do this. I'll just put it on YouTube, and then you've got a video. One more? Yeah.
I went on YouTube to look at videos instead of going to physical therapists to learn how to alleviate my plantar fasciitis.
Ooh, good one. Plantar fasciitis, and that is painful. Yeah.
But it's almost gone.
And it's working. Kind of crazy to think about what YouTube can fix. It can fix feet, it can fix lawnmowers, and then you guys are actually the ones putting the content out there, which I love. So that's great. So great examples. You guys have been creating a lot of stuff. You've been learning lots of different ways. So let's move to this. You kind of led into this next part, but we started creating our own content in a lot of ways. And I like to use kind of an example. When I think of content creation in the regular world, not just education, I think of this industry. All right, how many of you still get the newspaper, just out of curiosity? Okay, good. And this industry has really gone through a lot of evolution just recently. And it's, you think about the regular newspaper there's a story that happens at 5 o'clock. Somebody writes about it, an editor gets it, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, it's published, the paper's printed at 3 in the morning, and then dropped on your doorstep maybe 12 to 18 hours later. So the story has happened in that cycle. And you get it 12 to 18 hours later. Think about how much that has changed just recently, even with just mobile phones and Twitter. And I still remember when the Boston Marathon, I think we just had this 2-year anniversary of that. When that happened, the Boston Marathon bombing, I was with phone, watching the news, actually television news, and just following the hashtag. And my wife's sitting next to me, and I would say stuff like, hey, they just found a guy, and he's in a boat. And then 5 minutes later on the TV, they'd say, hey, we just found a guy, he's in a boat. And she's like, how are you ahead of the news? I was like, I'm just following along on Twitter. The news is being reported to me. Now, if this is the first time you ever heard this, I apologize, but not everything on the internet is real. Okay? I'm sorry. She's depressed. Her day is ruined. And so, there's things like there's 9 bombers running around all over Boston. So, I mean, we think about kids, they get everything so instantly, but they also now have to figure out what's real and what's not. Just because you can Google search it doesn't mean it's real, right? Try the Northwestern tree octopus. Have you guys seen that? That's hilarious. Have them Google search Northwestern tree octopus, and then sure enough, there's an octopus sitting in trees, and it looks like a legit, real website. just do that for a challenge one day and see how many kids actually buy it, and then say, now, is that real? Oh, you mean it's not real? No, it's not. Consider your sources. And I think about newspapers and I think about this. First of all, I'll point out something that I just noticed in this photo. You have your version of science. We have Texas science, which is a little different, apparently. So you think about the textbook industry, much like the newspaper industry, it's like there's this thing we want you to learn, and then we're going to edit it, and then we're going to publish it, and then we're going to deliver it to your classroom, and it's going to sit on your shelf for a year, 2 years, 3, 5, some of you are saying 5, 8, 10. The last time I did this, someone said 17 years it sat on your shelf. And so that knowledge is never being updated. And it reminds me a lot of this industry in some ways, but I think just like this industry, why can't we change that as teachers? And we started to do that in our own schools. I mean, these are just some resources out there. I mean, ck12.org is great because it actually lets you look at standards and download books, and then you can remix them if you want to. We started using iBooks Author. We have I know you guys will find this shocking, but we teach Texas history twice, in 4th and 7th grade, because we really want them to know about Texas. It's really hard to find textbooks on Texas history. And so what we're doing this summer is I'm paying teachers to create the books. Instead of paying a company lots of money, I'm paying teachers a little bit of money. No, I'm not. They're paying them a lot of money too. So the teachers are creating the content. They're actually aligning it to standards. It's a better book and it's digital, which means we can update it. The district owns it. The teachers got some money for it, and they get a royalty on it. So it's a great way for us to save money, but also to pay teachers for their intellectual capital. So I think that's a kind of a cool way of concept of trying this. We're going to try with Texas history, and then we may evolve into other things. But I love the idea of teachers creating their own books. Now, what would be the next level besides teachers creating their own books? Students, yes. Now that would be powerful. Get the kids creating their own content. Think about how much they would learn. Another thing about content is, deliveries change so much. It used to be, if you wanted to watch something, you gathered around the house and you watched how many channels back then? 3. There were 3 channels, right? I think the 4th one, Fox, was the late 80s. So 3 channels, you watched whatever someone else wanted to watch. Well, now it's become so much more on demand. And you have all of these services available to us, right? And I didn't even list like the #1 online video service in the world. We just talked about it. What? YouTube. And the difference between YouTube and all those other services is now you're creating the content, just like you just shared with me. So it's not just a company saying this is what we want you to watch. You're saying, you know what, we want to watch this, and we're going to make our own content now, and it's shifted. And all of this in the palm of your hand, in a very old iPhone graphic that I need to change. The iPhone 1 now. And so now all this is on demand. And then you kind of mix this up, and you think, okay, now you don't have to sit in front of the TV to learn. You don't have to sit in the classroom to learn. You can kind of learn and create anywhere. So let me ask this last question to you, and that is, when and where do you learn best? So I'll do this as a group first. Raise your hand if you learn best and create best in the morning. Let me look in the room. Okay, lots of morning people, good, so you're awake right now. How many of you learn better at night? I apologize if you've been sleeping for the last hour. Yes, you're like, oh, this is too early, Carl. All right, how about middle of the day? Anybody? I'm just curious. There's a few middle of the day folks, or maybe a little bit of both. Okay, interesting. Now, let me ask you this other question. How many of you learn best by yourself? Like, no noise, no distractions, you by yourself. Okay, not every hand went up. What about learning with a team, creating together? Okay, and some of you, I think your hand went up both times, but yeah, I could do both, doesn't matter. So in this room alone, we have half the people learn better in the morning, half of you learn better at night, half of you learn better with us by yourself, half of you learn better in groups and teams. Think about that, the diversity of learners just in this room. So let me ask you this question now. You can ask this on Twitter, but also just in the room. Where are some places that you learn best? Just call them out to me. Where's a good place you guys learn? On your couch. Comfortable seating, right? Pajamas. That's always like a staple. Every time I ask this, someone always says, I started thinking we should just come to work every day in pajamas because we seem to learn so much better in pajamas. We're restricted by this. What else?
Outside.
Outside. Yeah, I looked out this campus, and as I'm walking around, I was like, if I taught here, I would never be inside. I would take the kids outside. We would have outside class. I know Atlanta kind of gets hot. I know sometimes, but what else? Other places. Maybe you go to a coffee shop, like a Starbucks. I seem to, like, that's when I get stuff done sometimes. Like having some people there and a little bit of ambient noise. How many of you do well with music? Like listening to music while you actually create? Oh, again, a pretty good chunk of the room. And how many of you need absolute silence when you make something? Okay, good. Wow, so this room, very diverse. Everybody's a little bit different. Think about your class. Think about how different the students are in your class. Some of them better in the morning. You probably know those kids, the ones that are better learners at night, because they show up in your class and they're just kind of like this the whole time. Kind of get them motivated. You got to figure out what gets them motivated too. Now, not all creation and not all creative problem solving is good, and I'll give you this 2013 word of the year, the self, right? So just because we can create, produce, and kind of promote doesn't mean we should. And I love the history of the selfie because, you know, Al Gore invented the internet, which we all know, right? And if he invented the internet, then this young man must have invented the selfie. Oh, Justin Bieber. In fact, if you Google search Justin Bieber and selfie, guess what you'll see? Thousands of pictures of him taking pictures of himself. But you know what? Justin did not invent the selfie. As a matter of fact, if I go here, you see that there's this lady from 1900 right there, taking a picture of herself in the mirror. And then, kind of over to the side, I just moved over a little bit there, I just realized that MC Escher, an artistic selfie. We have Ringo, celebrities taking selfies in the 1960s, and then celebrities and politicians started taking selfies together, and then politicians started taking selfies and getting in trouble for taking that selfie. Look at Michelle's look right there. She ain't too happy. And then you have like an astronaut, Japanese astronaut in 2013 took the first outer space selfie. You know, the Pope takes selfies, very trendy Pope we have these days. You've got this selfie, which I found out later, this one broke Twitter, remember, for a little while in 2014? This is not called a selfie. You know what this is called? Ussy, or a groupie. I've heard both. Ussy or groupie. And of course, whenever there's anything good on the internet, you remix it. So here's the Lego version of that same groupie. And here's the Simpsons version of that exact same groupie. And this is a true story too, but there's actually a report out now that there's an increase in lice in teenage girls because of selfies. Why? Because they're touching their heads together to take the selfie. So when you go out there, be sure to practice safe selfie, okay? Now, you don't have to worry about it, okay? Sorry. I had to pick on you. You sat up front. You sat up front, that's what she said. Yeah, that's again. So, again, the content creation side is really interesting to this, but let me just get into this mobile side. And I know we're running kind of low on time, so I'm going to hurry and get through this last little bit. I look at this room and I look at this room, and this is a college classroom not from the 1900s. This is from last year. I took this picture. Now, it may have been invented back then. And a couple things about this room. I hate to be a left-hander in this class, as you can see. And the other thing is there is technology in this classroom. If you can see it, there's actually two pieces of technology. Right here is an overhead projector, and if that one goes out, there's another one right there. Overhead. Okay, I don't need to change the bulb. Let me just get this thing over here again. So this is all designed to get learning from the front, like we've been doing here. Now I've tried to go into the crowd to change that a little bit. But you think about, you know, learning and just space in general, and think about, I love this movie, right? And I love this movie. Even if you're not an educator, I think this is just a really good, it's a classic movie. And not all learning in this movie took place in the classroom, did it? Where else did it take place? What are some other places? The caves. Outside, they went in the courtyard. Remember, so there's a part where they're like reading quotes and kicking soccer balls. Remember that one? And then there was the courtyard scene where they had to learn to march in uniformity. And then there was the hallway scene where he has him lean in and he says, Arcadia. Yes, leans him in. And then there's this one, you mentioned the cave. Now, interesting. Who is not in the cave when they're learning? Who's missing out of that? The teacher. The kids found a place to learn by themselves. Now, in this picture, they're learning how to play saxophone and smoke a pipe, but they also did poetry, they did other things. So they actually found spaces to learn. And I see this in our high school, kids find their cave. They find a place, a little pocket in the high school where they can sit together and kind of learn. Whether it's in a stairwell, whether it's outside or under a tree, they find their own cave on the building. This building, by the way, as I walk around, has lots of those little cave spaces. I noticed lots of little nooks where kids can kind of learn in small groups. In our classrooms, in our schools, this is about a year after we turned out the iPads, this is a lot of what I saw. Kids around the building, around the high school, working outside in the courtyard, sitting in comfortable chairs, just like you talked about learning in the couch. They love these chairs in the library, just having that soft space. I saw the library here had similar. And then this one down here is interesting. We're doing a dance, it's an after-school dance class, and this girl over here is doing a dance routine, and the teacher looked at the kids and said, no, what are you doing? Taking out your iPads. They're like, we're going to record it, so when we get home, we can just replay it. Real simple, right? Watch the video, and I'm going to hear all these, and I'm walking through going, this is brilliant. And I just took a picture of them real quick. They're all filming what the girls do back there in the back. So we talked about movement, getting up and moving. I think I'm not going to have enough time to do this because we're running out of time, but I wanted you guys to get up. But this is true. This is actually the brain after 20 minutes of exercise. So you probably had this with your kid before when you go out and say, today I can tell you guys are zoning out. Let's get up and let's walk around the building. Or let's go outside for a minute and come back in. just that 5-minute change gets their brains awakened again. So there's real research that talks about this. And I have a challenge for you, but it would take too long, so I'm going to skip over it and get to the last little bit. And that is this kind of last part about motivated collaborators. And our kids really do want to learn together. You saw it with the Vietnam Project. They want to learn together, they also want to make those connections with others. And this is my example of worldly collaboration. These are 1,500 Game of Thrones fans, who are also Minecraft fans, who decided to build to scale the entire Game of Thrones universe. To scale, 1,500 people, 22 different languages across the world, all living in their parents' basements. The first thing I thought of was, I don't have time for this. And just that motivation to collaborate. They said, we all share the same desire, let's build. So like, Johnny, your job today is to build this little house right here to scale. Like, imagine the amount of scale of this and the scope of this, it's incredible. And then I look at this picture. This is my daughter Sophia when she was 4, and the excitement in her eyes. This is, I think a blimp was flying overhead, and I fumbled to get my camera out to take a picture of the blimp. Before I took a picture of the blimp, I looked down and I saw that. That look. That's the look we want to see in our kids' eyes, right? I wondered how to look all the way through high school, except for boys. I have every security camera in the building, I can access them all. So how do we keep that look of motivation and keep them going with that same look? And there's just a couple of examples here that I'll share. This one came up about as a parent concerned about iPads, and she was talking to me about, well, you know, at first when parents approach me and I hear, Carl, I gotta talk to you about these iPads, I always go, oh no, what happened? What did a kid do? And she said, no, it's amazing. My daughter is a 4th grader, and they're using iPads in class to create websites using something called Weebly, a little website creator. And she thought she wanted to figure out a way to help her cousin Dylan, who was a 2-year-old who suffered from something called Krabbe's disease. It's a neurodegenerative disorder, so it's fatal. There's a lot of research out there. So she did what any kid does that age, and she started a lemonade stand, right? Lemonade stand's going great. She's making $50, $60 on the weekend trying to do this, raise money for Dylan. She's like, Mom, this isn't working. I want to do something bigger. I want to make a website for Dylan. And she made Lemonade for Dylan. And there's a little guy right there. And she put these little donate buttons on there. Hunter's Hope is a larger organization that kind of encompasses this disease. And the mom at first was like, yeah, I'll get your uncle's a web designer, I'll get him. She's like, no, Mom, we make our own websites. I can make my own. So she made her own website. And what this girl did at the age of 10 is incredible. She figured out traffic patterns in the neighborhood to figure out where the most traffic would be, and she coordinated other students creating lemonade stands all over the city. So it says like right here, we're raising money here, so if you'd like to go to this part of Lost Creek from this time to this time, this is where we're going to set up stand number 1. And then stand number 2 is going to be over here. She's a project coordinator at the age of 10. Remember all the soft skills we saw? She had lots of them. All of these. Think about that. She had work ethic, she had communication, she had leadership for sure. Designing, the time management, the organization to do all of those things. And at the age of 10, she was doing all this. Again, motivated to collaborate, ready to learn. She was very mobile. She could pick it up and go. And I'll leave you with these last couple stories. And this is the picture I took you earlier. It was actually, I found this photo because I was on Facebook, and some student found it and put it on Facebook. And so this is them at the age of, this is 2010. So they were 16 years old. I got real nervous, I'll admit it. When I started seeing, they're talking about my class when they were 1st graders, and I'll also tell you that when teenagers get on Facebook, they don't always say, they aren't 6-year-olds anymore, and I realized that. But I started thinking, oh great, they're gonna talk about that great math test I gave them, or that amazing writing project. No, they didn't. They talked about the experiences, the things that motivated them. They talked about the fact that the day that we turned the classroom into a jungle, and each one of them had to become an animal to talk about their habitat. They talked about how we read Harry Potter, the first book, and then the first movie came out, we went after school and watched the movie, and then compared notes between the movie and the book. They remembered those experiences. Those are the things that motivated them. Those are the things that stuck with them. And you have those same things with your students too. I have this last kind of thing that happened to me, and Colleen's heard this, so it's always tricky for me to get through it. But when I had kind of a moment as an administrator that happened to be the day, right after we launched the iPad, we didn't literally launch out of the Westlake High School, but this is kind of what it looked like as I walked down to my office. And I'm walking down to the high school to have a meeting. I remember the date still, it's a date that sticks with me. It was this date, December 6, 2011. I'm walking down to have this meeting about whether or not the kids should take the iPads home over Christmas break or not. It was our first year with them, we're a little nervous, they're thinking maybe they'll get into social media, we don't know what they're gonna do. And as I'm walking to this meeting, there's a kid who's struggling to breathe, he's a 17-year-old. And he's struggling to breathe, and he goes and lays down on a bench, and he starts turning blue. And he actually, for about a minute and a half, he actually dies on the bench. And we get CPR over there, we get him up and running again, he's okay. And I'm just taken aback by this, and I'm walking to the meeting, and there's this little petty squabbling about, well, maybe they'll do social media, maybe they'll do gaming, and I think, okay, we've got to stop this. What's most important here? You know, life is such a valuable thing, and here we are squiggling over these little things, and we're scared, kind of as administrators and as teachers. And I'll flash forward to why this is meaningful to me. On December 25th, Christmas Day, my superintendent sends me a video, and it just says, Westlake High School student video. And I thought, oh, no, they took the iPads home, some kid did something they weren't supposed to do on YouTube, and I start watching this video, and some of you guys know this, maybe you've heard the story, and I start to think, who is this kid? He looks very familiar to me. And he's just telling his story, he's got these cards, he puts his iPad in front of him, and he's just recording himself doing this, right? And the student's name, if you recognize him, his name's Ben Breedlove, and you may have heard the story before, but Ben does what any kid does. He makes a video and he puts it on YouTube, right? And as it hits my inbox, I look right here. 5 million hits. 5 million hits. And as I'm watching the video, I noticed something else. December 6, 2011, that was the kid. Like, now I know I recognize that. And it was the third time that he suffered from a rare heart condition where his heart will just stop, like just randomly. He doesn't know, you know how long he had. So December 20th, he goes home over Christmas break, he takes his iPad, he makes this video, and now you probably know why this is famous. Because on December 25th, Christmas Day, Ben actually passed. And even though he's no longer with us, his story remained, it stayed with us. In fact, because he was able to do that 5 days before his death, he put that story out, he put it out on YouTube. It inspired thousands of kids. In fact, if you search for Ben Breedlove on YouTube, you'll see this. You'll see videos of kids doing their own versions of this. Like the girl that has a rare health disorder, this girl here who has problems with reading, these boys here that have been bullied, all telling their own stories in their own kind of fashion, all inspired